In this video, we're going to be creating an iOS application with Ruby using RubyMotion and a gem known as RedPotion. So RedPotion is a new gem on the RubyMotion scene that allows you to quickly and easily create an iOS application, much like the one we're going to be creating today, which is going to look just like this. It allows you to create one using a Ruby DSL, so you don't actually have to jump into any Objective-C or Swift code or even into Xcode. You can do it all within the command line and all within your code editor. So again, we're going to be creating an iOS application that looks much like this one. You're going to have the ability to clear a list, add a task. So you can add a task and that'll show up on your screen. And if we clear the list, it'll clear all our tasks there. And then we can go ahead and add some more in there. And if we don't add a task, we don't name it, it's going to give us an alert error. So let's go ahead and get started on creating this. The first thing you want to do, if you haven't already, is download RubyMotion. Go to rubymotion.com/download and get started with these starter packs. Totally free. Go ahead and get that installed using their installation guide. Then go to the RedPotion GitHub, and you can go ahead and get started with the quick start documentation. Get the gem installed, and then we can get running with the Potion new and our app. So with all of that said, I am assuming that to follow along, you need to have a basic understanding of Ruby and your way around the terminal. And if you've come from a Ruby on Rails background, this is actually going to be, or using RedPotion is actually going to be something that I think you'll enjoy, because it does have generators, it does have a lot of basic things that are in common with Rails. So let's go ahead and let's jump into our command line here, and let's get started with Potion new. This would be our task list. And so once I hit enter, it's going to go ahead and it's going to install all the files, and it's going to create a new directory for this task list. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this while I do it so that you don't have to sit through that. Okay, so it's installed, and the first thing you might see if you're using a starter version of RubyMotion is this error right here. And this basically lets you know that, hey, you need to change your deployment target from what's already installed with RedPotion, and you need to change it to 9.3. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. The first thing we need to do is actually change our directory, change directory into our task list. And then what we'll do is I'll use my Sublime text editor, and I'll open that up there. Okay, so let me move this to the side and show that sidebar. So open this up a little bit. Let's go ahead and open up our rake file, change that deployment target to 9.3, and then let's go ahead and just start this application up. Now to do that, you would type in rake in your command line, and it looks like our CocoaPods are not installed. So to do that, I use rake pod install, and this is going to install our CocoaPods for us. So if you're just using the CocoaPods that came with RedPotion, and that's what we're going to use in this example, then you only have to do this once. And the CocoaPods it's talking about is right here. So app.pods do, and then these are the CocoaPods. All right, so we'll go back into our application or our terminal here, and we'll type in rake again just to start up our sample application that comes with RedPotion. Okay, and in the meantime, I'll go ahead and I'll navigate to the screen code that's going to show up, or the code for the screen that's going to show up. And you'll notice this is taking a little while to go ahead and compile. And the reason that is because it's compiling everything for the first time. After this first compile, it'll be a lot faster. So this already looks very similar to what we want with our task application. We have the button on the left side, button on the right side, a title, and a view area where we're going to put our table. So the first thing we want to do is we want to change these two buttons here, and we can change that using these set nav bar buttons right here. So this is going to be for the left side where that camera is. I'm going to change system item to title, and then I'm going to change camera to to-do list. Okay, and then I'm going to change the right side to add to do. And I'm actually just going to change this to task list and add task. Okay, and we're going to change the action. So the action is going to trigger a method within this controller, this screen. So I'm going to change nav left button to clear list. And you know what? I was thinking of the title here for this entire screen. And so I actually got to move that into the title area and change the title of the button to clear list. Sorry about that. And then for this one, we're going to change the action and this method name to add task. And this right here, MP, is going to print out in our REPL or our terminal. It's going to print out the string here. So it's going to give us that output. And what I want to do is I want to change this to clicked on clear list and change this to clicked add task. So if we go ahead and we go back into our terminal, we'll exit out of this, use rake again. It'll be a lot quicker than it was that last time to compile and run. And what's going to do is it's going to start up our simulator again. And we should see clear list and add task. By clicking on those, you'll see the output within our REPL, our terminal here. And now we can see that this title here is now task list. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to create a model that is gonna show core data, how we want our data to be stored in it, and then we need to go ahead and display a table view here. So if we go into our RedPotion documentation, you'll see some really great documentation on getting started with core data, and that's what we're going to be using. So we need to set up a schema, and this schema is going to tell our application how we want our data to be stored, and then we need to create a model for this schema, and then from there we can go ahead and pull it into our screen or our view. So let's go ahead and let's take one of the sample schemas here. I believe it's somewhere in this documentation. Let me find that real quick. Okay, right here. It's in the RedPotion specific features under promotion data table screen, and we're going to take this schema here. Now by default, one is already created for us within the schemas, and you could go ahead and uncomment this if you want to. I'm just going to paste in what we copied over. I'm going to change the model or the schema name to task, and then we only need a string for the name of the task. So this is by default not optional, and then it's going to create a date time, and it's going to create a date time for our created at and our updated at. So that's perfectly fine with me. Now we need to go into our models, and we need to create a model. So let's go back to that documentation. This is what our model is going to look like. So under models, let's add a file, call it task.rb, paste that in, change the class to task, and then I'm going to remove this subtitle, and I believe arguments needs to be in there as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll pass in that arguments, and this allows you to store some arguments inside of the model. Now I don't think this actually needs to be it needs to be created with the model, but we're just going to leave that in there anyways because that can actually be very useful at a later time. So what we'll do is we'll go, now that we've created our model on our home screen, we're going to change this. So if we go back into here, we're going to change that to data table screen. Okay. And then we're going to pass through a model of task. And so the information in that model is going to be displayed onto our table screen. Okay. And let's see if we're missing anything else. So we got our model, we're passing that through. Okay. So let's go ahead and try to fire this up. Okay, great. So we fired up. We still see that hello world in there. That's because we haven't gotten rid of it. And so what we'll do is we'll jump into Sublime Text and get rid of this line right here. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to add things to this task list. And to do that, we can go into here, this add task, and for our model, we can do a task.create. This is using that core data query that comes equipped with RedPotion. And to see more about that, you can go to the home in the documentation and click on core data query. That will take you to the GitHub for it. And then you can go ahead and look through some of the documentation here. Now, some of the basics that we're going to be using would be create and delete, so or destroy. So deleting, you would use destroy. So first you would get that, you would select that, and then you would destroy it. So we'll jump back into here, and we're going to use that create method, and we need to pass through a title of sorts. So we'll do title, and right now I'm just going to put task title in there, and then after you do that, you need to pass through core data query.save. So cdq.save, cdq.save to make sure that it persists into our core data. If we don't put that in and we leave the app or we close the app, it will actually remove the data that we entered into it. So let's go ahead and exit out and restart our application there. All right, so if we add a task, oh, we're hitting an error. So let's see what this error is first. And that is because we use title instead of name. So let's try that one more time. And this should start it up. And add task. All right, so we can add a whole bunch of them. Now, if we close it, so using that core data query, because we use that core data query save, and we open it back up, it should have our data still in there. Okay, great. So it does. Now let's implement this clear list ability. And to do that, we need to go ahead and we need to select all of the objects within our core data. And I'm going to go ahead and pass through an each statement so that it can go through each of them. And we need to destroy. So that's going to go ahead and destroy each and every one of them. And then, of course, we have to go ahead and put core data query save. Now let's restart that, rerun it, and then clear list. All right, so it's going ahead and we can add those tasks, we can clear the list, add tasks, clear the list. So that functionality is working great. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to implement adding an alert that allows us to add a task. And adding alerts is really easy with RedPotion. So if we go into documentation, we look up alert. It uses a gem known as red alert. And so these are kind of the examples in there, but you can pass an input into it. So if we go to red alert documentation, this is their GitHub documentation, and we look into add input fields by setting the style. What we can do is actually pre-fill text into input. Let's use that one, and we'll place that into our add task. Okay, and using RedPotion, you don't need to add the RMQ. You just do app alert title. This will be the title of our alert, and we're going to change this to add task. What would you like to do will be the message. The style is going to be an input because we're going to be inputting a title. This will be the text of it. So this will be our to-do, and then a placeholder. This is what we're going to see within that input field. Add to-do name here. All right, then it's going to pass through an action type and fields, and you can see that it'll go ahead and it'll put you entered a certain text in there. We're going to skip that, and we're just going to use that for our create. So rather than testing that out, we're just going to believe that that works. And we'll do task.create. And it will allow us to create a name. And we're going to pass through this string as the name for our task. And then what we'll do is we do a core data save. Core data query save. We'll pass that through here as well. Okay, so let's remove this clicked on add task. Now, if we go back into there and we use rake, it should give us the ability to go ahead and create the task with our input. So click on add task, to do, and boom, it creates it. Can add another one, walk the dog. Awesome. We can go ahead and clear this out as well. And let's go ahead and implement an alert if someone didn't enter in a title. So let's do if fields.text is not empty, so it's not an empty string. Then we'll go ahead and we'll do this. We'll create it. Else, we'll go ahead and we'll display another alert. And it'll do a simple alert. And this alert will say task not created. Please be sure to enter a title or a name. Okay, so that's great. That should work out for us. And let's clear this out from the clear list. And what we'll do is we'll save that and fire it up. So right after this, we want to go ahead and implement the ability to slide or to open up. Let's see, I got an error here. Failed to compile, and that's because I forgot to add end. Okay. So like I was saying, what we want to do is we want to add the ability to slide the cell to the left, show a delete button so we can delete them individually, and then that should be it for our app. So we'll go ahead and we'll add to do, and then if we add it without a title, it's going to give us an alert. Great, so that's exactly what we wanted. We can clear the list and walk the dog. So I'll just leave that in there. That way we can see that persist after we start this back up. So like I said, what we want to do is we want to be able to slide this to the left and have that delete button show up. And so in order to do that, what you have to do is you have to go into your model and you have to enter in what's known as your editing style. And your editing style will be delete. And we can double check that within our documentation, going back to the RedPotion documentation and doing delete. Let's try editing style. You know where it actually is? It's in the table cell documentation. So table screens and ProMotion table docs. And then if we look up editing style, that's what we need to put inside of our model. Okay, so that's exactly what we want to do, have the editing style. Now if we exit and we rake one more time, we should have the ability to go ahead and slide to the left. But if we click on delete, it's not going to do anything because we haven't specified what we want it to do. So right on, so we have that delete. If I click on it or tap on it, nothing happens. We want to make sure that it does something. So we'll go back into our promotion documentations, and right along with this editing style, you see on cell deleted, and we can pass through the cell and the index path. So what we'll do is we'll create a new method here, or we'll add a new method into our screen. And what that's going to do is allow us to remove the information in this cell, so that saved row. And to do that, we need to, of course, find this row. And to do that, we're going to get all of the tasks. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us, it's going to provide an array. And then we can grab the task that we want, the specific task, using the index path. So this index path is going to give us a number, and we can see what that actually does. So index path, and what we'll do is we'll comment that out and pass false into this. So you need to pass false so it doesn't do its default action of having the table trying to delete the row. We want it to just have core data delete it, and then the table row or the table will refresh itself in the background. So we'll see what that does very quickly. this index path is going to pass through a number for you, or some information that allows you to go ahead and access that array. So if we click on this and click on delete, it's going to give us this reference for the index path. It's going to have a length and the path. And what we want to do is to access the row that's in there, we have to go ahead and append .row to it. So let's go ahead and use index path.row, and then we want to destroy that particular cell or that row, and then of course we have to save it. So core data save. Now if we exit and we do rake again, we can see that when we click on that delete, not only is it going to show us the number for that index row, it's going to go ahead and remove it from our core data. So we'll go ahead and click on delete, and it removes it from our table, and you'll see here that it has 0. So the first number in our array, or the first index in our array, would be the number 0. Then it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you're not familiar with arrays. And we can go ahead and add another task. Walk the dog. We'll walk the cat too. And we'll walk the cow. Great. Now we can go ahead and delete each and every one of these individually. So that is how you create a simple task list in iOS using nothing but Ruby. So we didn't even have to touch any Objective-C. We didn't have to look into any Xcode documentation, any Objective-C documentation, any iOS SDK documentation. We did all of this using RubyMotion and the gems that come bundled with RedPotion. So go ahead and dig into RedPotion and RubyMotion. I think you'll really enjoy what the creators of RedPotion have done for us in terms of writing this Ruby DSL. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in another one of the videos.